Hello, welcome. Hi, happy you could be here today. Welcome, Jean Sebastian. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We're here to discuss critical infrastructure security together with Soren Lupu, Head of Business Strategy at IEC Cyber, as well as Ido Hellstock, CPO of Tel Aviv-based Cybersecurity Hub Security, who is hosting today's webinar. We'll start our event with a brief introduction to our speakers, and then I'll hand over the stage to Ido and Soren for their presentations. Like I said, at the end, we'll have a short Q&A to wrap everything up. So if you have any questions throughout the discussion, you can just drop them in the Q&A box below, and you can specify maybe which panelist it is for. And we will get to them at the end of the discussion. I'm joined now by Soren Lupu. Hello, Soren.
Hello, Sterling. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again. Soren Lupu has more than 35 years of experience in the telecommunications and IT industries. Today, he works as head of business at the newly formed IEC Cyber suffix unit, which is a branch of the Israeli Electric Corporation. He works in the business entrepreneurship cyber unit, like I mentioned, the suffix unit, and has previously held positions at EVP, ECI Telecom, Audio Codes, and Nortel Networks, just to name a few. So welcome, Soren. We're really glad that you could be with us here today.
Thank you.
And we're also joined here by Ido Hellstock, CPO of Tel Aviv-based cybersecurity firm Hub Security. Ido Hellstock is Chief Product Officer at Hub Security and is responsible for driving Hub Security's product organization, including its ultra-secure key management platform. Prior to his role, Ido was a lieutenant colonel in the Israeli Defense Forces cybersecurity unit, where he had the IDF's he led the IDF's encrypted military cellular program during his 20 years of service. And throughout, he also led many mission critical research and development efforts in the field of secure communications and cyber warfare. So welcome, Ido. We're glad that you could grace us with your presence today. I don't think I get to do many webinars with you, so I'm excited.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks a lot. Great to be.
So I think I first hand over the stage to Soren for his presentation, and he'll share with us a bit about the importance of critical infrastructure security. And then we'll hear a bit more from Ido on why security is so critical when it comes to critical infrastructure, and especially now in the times of COVID. So take it away, Soren.
Thank you, Stanley. Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here and joining my colleague Ido here in the team. So we will really try to make this webinar a little bit more informative and practical. There are a lot of webinars those days, so we'll try to really to finalize and give more information here that will left and will help the participants in their work. So I share my presentation. Do you see it, please?
We can see parts of it. Maybe you can
just 1 second.
Put it into present.
Yeah, it is.
There you go.
It's okay?
Yeah. I think this is fine. Can you make it a full screen? Is this possible?
Yeah, surely.
I think you see on the top right. Wow, sorry, this is very classic of a Zoom call, but you have this maybe a play.
Yeah, just 1 second. I'm trying to get this out of it. Just 1 second, then we'll try to make it. It's no better, or
Yeah, I think this is fine. I think you can present like this. Okay, take it away.
All right. So, okay, so good afternoon. And I will talk about the critical infrastructure at risk. As I mentioned, my name is Sorin Lupu. I'm here on behalf of the Cyber Entrepreneurship and Business Development Unit, ISC Cyber, at the Israeli Electric Corporation. And okay. Who we are? Basically, we are the Israeli electric government. We are a vertically integrated electricity utility of Israel. Even so, the market is being deregulated. We are the major electrical utility in Israel. I'm part of the ISC Cyber, that is the Israeli Electrical Corporation Cyber Unit. Our mission is to develop and market the cyber solution, mainly for the script to critical infrastructure. We basically gather our more than 25-year experience, what we say about cyber better experience, because our solutions are being tested every day, as you show you later, and insight practices and tool and methodology, and put them together into a cyber defense suite that we call it suffix. Suffix is coming from the ancient Greek, that is basically wisdom, and this is what we try to incorporate, because in the cyber battle between the goods and bad, you know, we need to use a lot of wisdom. We believe that we are one of the most attacked companies in the world. Those are some numbers here. Those are numbers that we said that this is a cyber suspected event by the end of 2018 that we handled. It was about 200 million, and on average more than 10 million, 1 month more packed, but in average it's about more than 10 million suspected event. And basically you understand that this cannot be done if you don't have in place the right, what do you call it, the knowledge, the people, you have the processes, the procedure, the policies, and the technology. I just want to talk a little bit, and we'll take it to something schematic here, because we're talking about the critical infrastructure here. So you see over here a schematic, a diagram here, it's called a spider diagram, where it's showing really the interconnection or the interconnectivity that is becoming more and more tighter between the IT and the OT ICS world here. And I will not go over it, but as you can see, whereas the red is the control system and the blue is the internet, you're saying that those worlds are becoming even more and more interconnected, and it's very difficult to say where the IT is starting and or the OT and where it's finishing. So just give you an example, no more specifically for the electrical utility, that basically what's happened today, most of the electrical utilities or power utilities, they have what we call the multi-age equipment. This is an example of the substation. Well, we know the first generation, they were quite relay based. That was based mainly, or a lot of operation was done locally, based on the knowledge of the individual that were dealing with the system. There were some very limited communication to the SCADA, and there were some analog measurement that were sent to the SCADA. As you know, real time was a difficult word to use by that time. And then you move to the new generation that it was a little bit more really advanced, where you have, you know, the legacy based, what do you call it? What you have already the PLC in place. You have some, you know, the end devices are still analog. You have some connected, you know, with the digital world. You have already some protocols that you communicate between the system, and you have some central capability. And then you move to what you call the modern part of it. That is, as you know, this is coming, and it's what you call it, the IPification, that intelligent devices You have central bus, you have the local area networks, things that you use in the IT in the enterprise, and you have all the devices that some of them they have their own logic and can take decision based on their own logic that were programmed for that. And you have the central computerized system and capability and remote maintainability, meaning you need to allow access to those systems, and of course there are integrated, separated protection and logic. So as the technology evolved and making more modern, more efficient, you see that the attack surface are growing, even faster. And you say the vulnerability and the attack points you are seeing on the x-axis and versus the number that usually you have tens and hundreds when you start at the first generation, and now we're moving from 100 to 1,000. Moreover, here we are seeing the trend that the attacks that initially were more really focused on the field, they are moving now to the central, to the control system. And this when they are able to get there and getting the access to this control system, the damage can be huge. And we already seen this, in a few well-known events that I don't think that it's worth to mention. More of them know this. So what basically we have done, we basically understand, we have the technology, there are a lot of good technology company there. We are not here to replace technology or to, of major vendor invested very good technology, and this is a foundation that need to be there. But we try to understand what else is missing, because the investment is going and the threat is going and up. And we define our portfolio, as I mentioned, that we branded as suffix, and we basically identify 8 principles, unique principles that we incorporate those principles in all of our products. First of all, I will move very fast here, but we're talking what we call the missing S. We said about we need to look not on the scenarios, we need to look on the processes, or on the scenarios, many scenarios, not only one. Because if you are not looking to the end-to-end process, you may look to some scenario within the process, but you cannot cover the process. So you need to, when you have something to deal with, a tool that you are preparing or a solution, you need to look for the full process. The second one, continuous. Most of the solutions that are provided, I'm not talking about the monitoring and all this stuff, I'm talking about the solutions that are used really, or methodology that are used, like risk and maturity, different assessment, there are snapshots. So we need to provide, we said we need to provide to the customer solution that really can provide them tools and capability to monitor continuously their organization, their sturdiness, their maturity, and to make sure that are seeing where the risks are there when they are happening. Then the solution with that need to be, all the company may be in a different stage of the evolution, so we need to be life cycle adaptable. The data need to be enriched, because now we are applying the artificial intelligence, we are applying machine learning, and we need to have data that is relevant to be able to analyze and really to provide information to the decision maker in a way that really, to the system to operate automatically, to avoid a catastrophic event. The information that need to be presented need to be layered in a way that will be understandable to the user. Basically, not every user, if you are looking to the, somebody is looking from a very technical, understand different level than one of the executive of the company that want to understand what is going. So we need to be able to present them in a language that is understandable to the user. Then a butterfly effect enrichment. So we have seen a lot of examples. I believe that just last year was about 2 major events, one related to a major aluminum manufacturing in the world, and the other one about 1 or 2 years ago was a major retail company in the US. When we basically the signal were there, but nobody really were taking in looking on them because they were weak signal. So this weak signal can grow and become more, threats, and finally can really become real attacks, and you see compromise the organization and the business. So we are analyzing and looking really for the close and remote signal when we take into consideration. More than that, we said at this point in time where we are, and because the OT system really are evolving more to ITification, you said, as you mentioned before, the boundary between the IT and OT is blurring. We said we need to provide an environment where you need to be able to stage and test your new pages. You think that because the IT methodology is going to the OT, so you need to have a validation and test system for the OT environment before you are putting things in production. And everything that we are bringing to the market is battle proven, because first of that we are checking within our company, and it's being tested. As you said, we have enough events, cyber suspected event to test it, to make sure that those are battle proven solution. So I will not go over it, but we have about 3 families of solution. One is more professional services, that is mainly workshops, providing, looking for all the level to the executive level up to the professional OT people, that we need to bring the OT people into in the cyber world. And then you have a lot of what we call the assessment services that I will mention one example from each family as we move forward. And then you have the consultancy services here. And the second family is what we call it, the suffix OT. The suffix OT, it's about, we are taking the major processes that are going in OT, like access, remote access, secure remote access, like file transfer and sanitation, like, as I mentioned before, a validation and testing platform for the OT, or staging platform for the OT environment. And the latest one, it's the suffix picture, that basically we need to provide to the decision maker the information that is relevant to the moment they are looking to, understandable to take the right decision before things, or even during the event are happening. So I'll take an example for each of them. I will move fast. So one of the examples I'm talking about, the cyber organization, is part of our Suffix Pro family. So as you mentioned, there are a lot of things that we need to blend together when we try to evaluate the quality of the cyber organization. So, it's very clear the reporting structure in each organization, who is the CEO, who is the CFO, who is the operation leader, who is the department here. But cyber organization is sometimes it's blurring, because there are some formal organization, there are some informal organization. It depends on things. So we need to take all this in putting this together. So as you mentioned, they are using a lot of sometimes external professional experts, because not all the expertise is in-house. A lot of things that is being done, you need to see, and that can impact the reputation of the company, talking about relationship with PR media, how board of directors understand, then putting from the other side all the politics of the company, the culture, whether it's integration or units are operating separately. Very important, what are the communications there, what is stopping or what is going really open in this, and putting this together, we develop really a methodology that is allowing you to measure your organization quality. So I think that you need to ask, everybody need to ask if you can continuously measure your cyber organization quality. So to be able to do that, you need really to get the right, not just one-time things, to get the right KPI and to get the methodology in place to be able to go, and after you finish, to be able to do it on your own. We can support later, of course, but it's the major things is to allow the customer to continue to monitor their cyber organization quality. That is key, really, whatever the technologies be there, the cyber quality, the organization quality is key, because people are always the strongest and the weakest link in everything that is happening. Then, giving another example from the other family, the second family is the suffix zone. Suffix zone is about really, we talk about the OT world. And as you mentioned, as you can see, the OT world is expanding, more energy. Energy is the number 3, you know, importance after for the human life. And it's expanding, it's modernized, it's digitalized. ICS is not really the ICS that we know. As you mentioned, the ICS is not so isolated as people think that they are. And then you need a production environment that you can stage and test your solution before going into usage. So this is our suffix zone. It basically, you are emulating, simulating and emulating the OT operational environment and develop dedicated special payloads based on Mitre, but that we see the vulnerability that are known, but we as well develop our own payloads with our red team that we believe to try to simulate and to make sure that you have in place and providing recommendation to make sure that the OT system is always ready and prepared, not only for things that happen, but things that may happen in the future. The other solution that we mentioned, again, we talk about this from the OT part, the suffix OT is the suffix access. So as I mentioned, you know, the systems are becoming more open, more interconnected. Then it's not just about going on site and preparing the support. It's not feasible. So we need to allow remote access to your own employee that are remotely, to your supplier, to some external people. So this is something becoming really a highway and can become very dangerous to the system. So there can be a lot of entry point here. And if you look about a lot of compromise that happen, you know, creating a lot of attack of point of entry attack points for OT and ICS out of the most of the IT and ICS incident were based on the really remote access. So sometimes, you know, people are really when you are remote accessing the system, being able, some of them to bypass the intended architecture. So there are a lot of things because this can happen, whether you have the right privilege in place, whether we are not, it's updated there, it's not. Sometimes, you know, can be passed is when you know, the intended architecture, as you know, and sometimes you provide, you know, access to trusted people, and again, somebody can use that even without their knowledge. So what we said we need to prepare, and this is what we implement. So as I said, everything that we are presenting, this is what we implement in our system. We need really to prepare an envelope here, a platform that really is allowing us to make sure that all the access to our OT, to the control system, is being done in what we call in a very systematic way. Then starting really for the beginning here, I will not go on it, but you starting even from the computer that the supplier or the maintenance person is using, that is being checked, the BIOS, the hardware, the software on it, and everything can be, and then you move to before moving to the VPN to make sure it is encrypted and have a unique identification by the way, we are using the solution of our colleagues from the Hub Security, and I believe the Ido will go on. I know that Ido will present it. This is something that it's really unique, and really it's based on hardware security module here. It's providing a significant improvement here, and we make sure by our processes that only the authorized people are being there doing identification, facial identification, and by the way, all the processes being monitored at each point in time and can be stopped, and make sure that the people that got the right privilege, they are going to the system that they are allowed to go. Everything is recorded, and of course, it's a full isolation between the access, the passport access of the user and the passport. You know, when the passport will moving to the OT system that is not visible to the end user. So this is how I really plan to share with you. I will not go into it, but really things that we have here in our suffix solution, the access, suffix access, it's really extra in allowing to provide an end-to-end, you know, secure process here using the most advanced technology. And one of it is with our colleague from App Security. And second, here I'm finishing my presentation, and please feel free to contact us. You have here the contact here. I will send to Sterling, we'll send the presentation to you. And again, I'm here if you have additional questions.
Great, thank you so much, Soren, for that really fascinating presentation. I'm going to hand over we're running a bit low on time, so I'm going to just hand over the stage to Ido. I think Ido wanted to share some slides, and then we'll have a short discussion.
Hi guys, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, great. So good evening, everyone. Really good to be here, and thanks, Soren, for your presentation and for the partnership that we are having. So, as mentioned before, I'm the Chief Product Officer at Hub Security, coming from 20 years in one of the IDF cyber units. Was leading and building several products nationwide that should be highly protective against cybersecurity attacks. Hub Security is based in Tel Aviv. Most of the team is coming from elite cybersecurity units, both in the offensive and defensive areas. And we are building hardware and software full stack solutions, which mean eventually from our offices, we are delivering full solutions, hardware and software, like from the basic design, the architecture, the hardware design, assembly. Eventually there is a box going outside of the facility, just for you to be familiar. And I will go straight to the point. So basically, we're talking about a critical infrastructure. So let's start with what is it basically. So critical infrastructure is basically most of the services that the government or the country delivers to the citizens. As mentioned, defense and national security is obvious, power plants is obvious, but we see a large variety of organizations which are vital to the operational of the country and the processes. You can see here two examples just from the last July. One is in water attack, when it reported that Iranian aimed to poison Israeli water just in the last July by upping the water chlorine levels. So this is something huge. This is something that a country cannot allow even one hack. So one hack is not an option in those areas. Another example is something that was in 21st of July, that the US accuses hackers to steal corona vaccine data for China, which here we are talking about research and innovation and stealth of intellectual property in the first manner of a country, which is a huge loss. So all those stuff, all those critical infrastructure, also communication, which is extremely important these days. Lots of devices are basically structure working wireless and wireline, and they are indeed a critical infrastructure sector. So all those organizations are facing vast majority of cyber attacks, like professional group elite hackers funded sometimes by governments using extremely high tools, high quality tools. You know, today you can buy them on the web, or you can build them. It's pretty much easy to use the highest quality tool when you have the money. So those hackers teams are having good tool, good training, and they have all the tools they need to do the hacks. Banking and finance, of course, is something we're all familiar with. So standard hacking of money from banks happens all the time. We don't hear about it in the news, but it's happening all the time. And basically, that's what critical infrastructure is. So all those companies basically need to be super alert, need to build a solution to be on the highest level, because the hackers are waiting. And since we are talking on critical infrastructure, with the COVID-19 area yet, so what we see is not only a pandemic of virus of COVID-19, but also of phishing attacks. So we can see a growth, exponential growth of phishing attacks over users, clients that are working from home much more than ever before. Hackers are using that situation to steal credentials, steal passwords, steal two-factor authentication credentials, steal the keys of the users, and eventually using that for high breaches. And on the other side, we see, and this is something I really like as an example, deepfake voice software, which is based on artificial intelligence, was used to hack a CEO in about $250,000. This is something that happened early 2019. So imagine yourself what's going on today. Basically, you understand that you cannot really trust what you see remotely, what you hear. You cannot trust a video conference, sound, voice, or basically any identity which is not high quality that you can trust. And soon we'll talk about it. So that's what happened these days when working from home through the COVID-19. And in that slide, I want to highlight the use case that we developed for the Israel Electrical Company, the suffix, and discuss the challenges, the attack vectors and risks, and how we do solve it. So basically what you see on the right side here is a user. It can be a remote worker, like a manager in the bank that works from home. It can be an IoT device that sends signals to the critical infrastructure. And it can be someone that is working from his internal network, connecting to the backend to send transaction, to send money. So let's see and review some of the main risk and attack vectors. So basically in the user side, we discuss about the attack vector. It can start with phishing attack that can basically result in stealing your password, your user keys, which result in stealing your identity, basically, your credentials. Those kind of thefts are really common, and it doesn't really matter if you're using iPhone, smartphone, whatever laptop you're using, as long as it's connected to the internet, as long as it's a standard server or computer, eventually, if the hacker is looking for you, he'll find you there, and you will be hacked. Some really interesting attack on the user side is a display attack, which means user doesn't even have to notice that there is a hacker inside. What he sees on the screen of his computer, of his smartphone, looks really like real. But eventually there is a hacker deep inside that fakes the data you see on the screen. The user is actually using the data, is sending it to the company, to the infrastructure. And this is, of course, a falsified data. You can change even 1 bit or 1 byte to cause a huge money lost, for example. And that's what happened in the user side. Let's take a look at the backend side, which is maybe more interesting. So backend side goes, if it's on-premise, on your data center, or in the cloud, both infrastructure are 24/7 open to remote attacks from the internet. If it's public or private, doesn't really matter, as long as it's connected. So hackers might hack the backend side, get access to the policies and the rules that are set to block and to set permissions for users and data, what goes inside the critical network, what doesn't. So hacker might get access to those sets of policies and rules, learn them, and even can change them, because basically, again, this is running on a non-secure platform. So hackers might steal the API keys, and without even getting access to the user side, you can basically generate a falsified transaction from the backend side to the secure network, or to get access to extremely sensitive information just by hacking the backend system, because it's all the credentials and API keys. Hackers might change audit logs. They might change it and delete it to make sure no one noticed the hack. And of course, there are lots of physical attacks, as insider attacks, that are putting in a huge risk when you are actually holding data or information which is not in your perimeter. It might be outside of the company's perimeter. It might be in the cloud, where it's totally under a risk. So we at Hub Security, when we look about those risks and how to solve them, basically, as you got it, we don't trust any kind of standard server software, whatever it is, as long as it's connected to the internet, as long as it's not on a hardware module, something which gives you full isolation and filtering. Basically, we do not trust it. And where we are talking about critical information, critical infrastructure, that's where we are using those products to secure the process. And this is the case study that we have solved with the IC. So basically, what we've done, we took the authorization flow of a technician, a remote technician that is working from Michigan and need to get access to a power plant in Japan. We took the whole process, the user side and the backend side, and we put them on a totally different level of security. We put them on a secure hardware module, which basically is a confidential computing environment when you can run any type of application to manage the most sensitive processes in the company. In this side, in this use case, we're talking about the access control and identity management. So we deliver a mini HSM device, which is same as the Vault HSM, but small, which delivers the user the ability to hold and store his identity on an isolated device with a secure screen when he can see the data that is actually sending to the backend. So no one in between, no one can falsify the data, no man-in-the-middle attacks. And more than that, we are running here a policies and rules engine to enable critical infrastructure companies to set any type of rules they want to enforce a multi-factor authentication process for the organization. In that case, a security team or security managers can get the request of the user to get access to the critical infrastructure and enforce, the vault will enforce any type of policies by the security team. So it's not based on emails, not phone calls, not password. This is based on a hardware module, which basically enables you to use it on any non-secure network whatsoever. So eventually, what we deliver is secure access between the external world, the world that you don't see, you cannot trust, with our unique hardware modules. And eventually it enabled the company to have what we call a military-grade firewall. So no one can access between the external world and the internal OT or IT network. So I'll finish by that, and I think we can continue from here. Sterling.
Great. Thank you so much, Ido, for sharing all that with us and also walking us through how the solution works with security and the importance of having a hardware security module. This is, I think, extremely critical, especially when it comes to critical infrastructure. So I wanted to ask you guys a few follow-up questions to some of your presentations, maybe get some of your insights into cybersecurity trends. From chemical to financial sectors, attacks on critical infrastructures present threats that are both novel and sophisticated, and that can put entire countries and communities at risk. We're now seeing that there's a rise in attacks on critical infrastructures such as healthcare due to COVID-19. And I wanted to ask you guys, why are we seeing these trends growing, and how do you believe that today's critical infrastructure is at a higher risk than ever before?
So I will take it, and Ido, please feel free to jump.
Welcome.
So I believe we already discussed a little bit, and just Ido showed what do you say, the published event that happened with the water utility in Israel. So as Ido said, it's basically one success here. From uncompromised here, it's too much. So basically looking at what's happening when we talk about initially from the first generation of equipment, when you talk about the 10 of maximum hundreds maybe of vulnerability and threats, when you are moving today to tens and to a lot of threats here that, as you've seen, we are dealing as the electrical company, we are dealing as about an average. It was 2018. I don't have the number of 2019, but I can assure you that the numbers are not smaller. So we're talking about 100 million suspected cyber events per month. So, this cannot be really handled in a way that without trying to build, what you said, a 360-degree view of the company, including the external environment there. And this is going even, to grow, because the amplification, the modernization, the connectivity through internet and the capability to allow really remote operation, I believe that is here to stay. Not only as for the IT, for the OT, as well for the IT, and the utility as any other enterprise It's not just about protecting the most, important asset. It's about protecting all the assets. And we are moving out to we are evolving to the IoT. We are evolving to the Internet of Things with the smart home, with the sensor. And we are talking about the electrical vehicle. And you're having all these things and syncing together, smart grids, new vendors, renewable, everything putting all together, creating a huge space of, for the attackers. And basically, we need really to take a different approach. And this is what we said. It's about securing each and every process here. So, this is our view. I think that the way that we are looking, you need to have the best technology, but you need to as well to have the best trained people, and you need to have the right processes and the procedure and policy in place. And this is basically what we're looking to address in a wiser manner, because we just talk about we see already attacks from the foreign nation state or state sponsor, groups that are attacking. There are organized crimes, there are hackers, we didn't talk about it, it's about employee. Internal, the insider there, and we're talking about ex-employee. Some of them are not very happy how they finish the relationship, and hacktivists and so on. So there are a lot of things, a lot of threats, and you don't need to go with a gun machine to the bank to take out millions. I said you go and trying to get remotely and phishing.
Change a few lines of code.
Yeah. Okay.
Ido, do you want to add to anything?
Yeah, maybe to add to that, I do agree. Like IoT is everywhere. Like all devices are connecting. The world is connected to the critical infrastructure. Eventually, it's power meters, it's smart cities, it's water meters. Healthcare devices are connected from the patient house to the hospital. And eventually, the issue with those is that most of them are deployed in non-secure environments. So hackers have physical and remote access to those devices, which is extremely hard to manage and monitor. Like if you need to do security updates, patches, to check, to monitor those devices, it's extremely complicated, and the numbers are huge. So basically, there is a new and big attack surface for hackers that can use those channels to inject malware to the organization or to trigger a backdoor, and also can use those channels to leak sensitive information from the organization after they did the hack. So eventually, one way is to sneak in a backdoor or inject the malware, and you need to also solve the way out, how to sneak out and leak the sensitive information. And those channels of IoTs can be a really good for hackers to use. Stanley? Okay, so until Stanley will revive, maybe I'll talk about something new threat that is evolving these days. We see a lot of companies in critical infrastructure, but not only, are using artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms and systems to solve big problems for the world, like autonomous cars, healthcare, vaccines, whatever it is. And they are investing a huge amount, tons of manpower and funds in order to build those systems, like in the training and in the deployment in execution afterwards. And those algorithms and parameters are eventually becoming an extremely valuable asset of those companies, which now they need to protect. And the issue with those is they are they should be connected to multiple sensors to get information. And they are connecting also all together with multiple clients that want to use those algorithms, those systems. So basically what you have here is an extremely sensitive information running on the data center, on the cloud, which is always connected to multiple clients and sensors and is targeted by sophisticated hackers. So what can they do? They can steal the intellectual property. Those algorithms are running on standard GPUs or servers in the cloud, which are not built for those type of cyber attacks. So hackers might steal the intellectual property, the algorithms, the parameters. Even more than that, they can change even the references, the results of those algorithms. So we can think of autonomous cars going to the different side than it meant to be because someone hacked a machine learning algorithm. And maybe third, hackers can breach the training process of those systems, and they can learn those systems not to apply to specific data, specific traffic lights, whatever you can think of as the imagination. So I think those type of risks are going to be one of the main highlights for companies that are seeking these days to have a confidential computing platform to run those AI and machine learning algorithms in private or public clouds.
Great. Well, my next question was going to be about what the evolving trends and targets of hackers are today when it comes to critical infrastructure. But it seems that you kind of partially answered this question already. Soren, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that what you said, we talk about you are talking about, again, I want to refer, it's not something that can be done and should be done as a one time. What I'm talking about, the cyber sturdiness of the critical infrastructure. And I think what's happening today, companies are still investing a lot of money, unproportionally, in technology versus on people. As I said, I think technology is the basis, should be there, should be continues to evolve, but the people, we need to go back to basic. So when we say that we need to go back to basic, we are talking about really people, we're talking about processes, we're talking procedure, we're talking policy and technology that we need to have in place. And the most important things for organization, I say we need to democratize the cyber. Cyber cannot be understood, handled by a few people in any organization. Need really to be understand, and we basically, the reason that we develop our workshops is really to allow from the highest, from the board and from the CEO level to provide the right awareness and to provide knowledge up to the professional level. And most important, because as I said, the IT people are much more savvy on the cyber. This is the things that they were already ready for many years, but we need to bring the OT people in together and to make sure that creating this, what we call it, the fusion between the organization, the fusion between technology, and then all these things can happen together. You don't mention about things that the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, and things, all the things that are being developed, and it's helping in the operation. It's getting, of course, the adversary are getting access to, and some of them are even more focused than we are. So I think that this is something that we need to make sure, and as I mentioned, to make sure that we are securing the processes that we have in the organization, and to have the tools that really allowing us to close all this angle together. And the other thing that I want to say here, the way that the assessment and the providing having the right KPI, the right methodology in place, that we can really discuss and not discuss, just continuously test the maturity of organization, the risk of the organization that is there, to the quality of the organization need to be there in place. And this is what basically trying to work and provide to our customer as a continuous way to improve sturdiness, because you cannot rest one moment here, because whatever we have done today is not more relevant for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think we only have 15 minutes left to our webinar today. So I'm going to shoot you guys one more question, and then we're going to head over to the Q&A and see what our audience has to ask. So just a reminder, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the Q&A section, and we'll get to them shortly. I guess my final question for you would be that we know that practices such as network segmentation and privileged access management can all help us safeguard our most sensitive endpoints against attack. But what are some other ways? I mean, we spoke about also HSM devices, but what are some other ways both private and public organizations can continuously work to improve their critical infrastructure cybersecurity?
So maybe I'll answer for that. And this is something we didn't discuss much in that webinar. I think that companies need to take really seriously what's going on in the supply chain. So supply chain attacks are extremely complicated to manage, and can do a huge amount of damage to the company. Basically, those sophisticated hackers are looking for any type of entrance of attack vector to the critical infrastructure. One way to do it is to hack the network of the vendor. If there is a software vendor to the company, so it's much more easy to hack the vendor, implant malware or backdoor in the software of the vendor, and when it's deployed in the critical infrastructure in a secure manner and everything is fine, eventually the hackers have one backdoor waiting for them to process or to compromise. And also, not in software, but in hardware, we are familiar with several occasions, such as hardware chips have been implanted inside motherboards. That's what Alligated published by on motherboard of servers. So in the facility, in the assembly line of the company who produce the motherboards, and those type of attacks bypass all security layers on top of it. And that's what's unique in that. And companies must make sure the hardware and software is tamper-proof. And if someone change a bit or byte in the hardware or in the software, they must notice it, they must audit it all the time, 24/7, because the consequences are extremely huge.
Thank you, Ido. Soren, anything to add to that? Anything brief?
I think that actually Ido said a very interesting point here, because as you mentioned, it's much easier to alter or modify the hardware or software at your supplier. And we have seen this. We need to provide a lot of examples. There are a lot of examples like this. You basically all the firmware update or the patches updated that are coming, dozens of them. Just need to have a way to manage this and make sure it cannot. I talked to some customer and they said, I trust my supplier. Or say, you may trust him personally, but it's not about him. So I think that in cyber, it's zero trust everything. You need to have capability tools and understanding to test and validate your own before you are putting things in the system. We just talk about the maintenance tools and things that need to allow the access. So indeed, the supply chain, it's a very complex method that need to be handled properly.
Definitely. Okay, thank you guys. We're going to move on to Q&A for the final segment of the workshop today, the webinar today. We have here a question from a member of our audience, RN. For utility communications, how much hardware may be required considering the vast geographic distribution of power substations? Okay. I understood that.
Can you please repeat? I didn't hear that. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll try to answer that. Hopefully I understand the question right. So basically those hardwares are accelerated by FPGAs, GPUs, chips inside that can run like millions actions per second to support load of any type of communication, which is standard today. And those hardwares can be worked distributed way. So they can work as a cluster with load balancing between totally different geographically plants or clouds or data centers. What we are doing also in our unique hardware, we have built inside the hardware multiple cores. So our hardware as itself is not like a standard HSM with one core. We've built inside a multiple cores, like you can run inside up to 100 cores. Of each one of them is an isolated environment that can run tons of applications and users with a specific hardware acceleration, keys management, firewall, embedded firewall that we have inside. So basically, when running with one HSM of us, it can replace a rack of traditional HSMs that are built to solve one client with a separation only by software and not by hardware. So this is extremely important when you're doing security for critical infrastructure, where every customer requires his own isolated environment in the box.
Oren, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that? To Ido's response?
No, actually, I think that it's there. There's just one point that I want to mention, and I mentioned it just to, again, to repeat what I said. I see technologies, we are seeing the technology that using the IT are moving to the OT. So, because my background as well, I have quite a long background in communication, I see the SDN, the software-defined network. We just, we don't talk about the segmentation, we're talking about the segmentation, micro-segmentation of the network. The SDN, basically, it's moving really in the utility networks. And again, as I mentioned, this is you know, you understand the complexity of having software-defined networks and the utility that was really a few years ago, nobody was thinking about it. And as I said, the evolution that is going there, it's allowing as well with what Ido said about the capability of the hardware, of the software there. It's creating really, the ICS is not really the ICS that we used to know. So it's really becoming really an IT complex environment. And this is something that we should. Finally, it's still, you need to have a circuit breaker by the end, or a valve for the water, or you mentioned that somebody will operate it, but everything there surrounded, it's really, it's a new world, and it's a new world that it's really open-ended. If you deal the right way with the cyber threats, this should become type of living with rather an inhibitor to the evolution.
Yeah, I think especially now with the evolution of the smart grid and renewable energies, many companies are turning to more and more smart meters and IoT solutions in order to get more data and to be able to make real-time decisions. So I think this is relevant now, especially more than ever for the cybersecurity threats are relevant now more than ever for utility companies. Thank you for that, Soren. We have time for one more question. This is from Gabriel. You mentioned legacy and modern solutions or protocols. What's the capability of Hub Security solution in that regard?
Okay, I think that the question is referring to our suffix zone platform that I mentioned. That is the environment that basically we build it for validation and testing. I just mentioned the patches, the firmware update, everything that is being done, staging environment. And of course, the way that we are operating the platform, it's by simulating and emulating the customer operational network. So we really build we simplify it, but it's close enough to allowing us and to run it as the customer operational system, and as I mentioned, including the protocols. So to answer to the question here, we are supporting a Modbus, Profibus, ISC 618550, ISC 60875, 101, 104, IEEE 1588, DPN3, OPC, TCP/IP, UDP. If you want more, we can add the stack and we can do it. So our system is quite open and really can incorporate and simulate any operational network, and of course adding protocol stacks are there involved. I believe this was the question.
You don't?
Soren, I think you covered it very well.
Okay, great. So with that, I wanted to thank you both, Soren and Ido, for taking the time today. I think we had really interesting discussions related to critical infrastructure that that can highlight some of the threats and some of the solutions moving forward. So I'm glad that we got the time to cover them here today. And I'd also like to thank everyone in our audience for joining us today, and thank you again to our speakers. To learn more about IEC Cyber and the Israel Electric SOFIC unit, you can find them on LinkedIn. And I can also share Soren's contact information below. If anyone is interested in learning more about the services, you can definitely just get in touch, or with Ido to learn more about Hub Security Solution. And to stay up to date on upcoming webinars, you can follow Hub Security on LinkedIn. And I have a weekly digest on Hub Security's Medium as well, on all the latest cybersecurity stories happening. So thank you, everyone. I will share Soren's contact information below. If you wanted a copy of the presentation, you can also drop your email below, and we'll make sure that it gets to you.
Okay. That we are done. Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you to the participants. And as you said, we are here to answer any question or clarification.
You're very welcome. Okay, everybody.
Thank you, Soren, and thank you for the collaboration and the partnership.
Thank you very much indeed.